Well, good day, everybody. Welcome to the Lifetime Training Podcast. And I'm very excited today to bring you something that I know a lot of you people out there need right now, especially if you're just getting into the industry or wanting to get into the industry, which is going to boom here as we start to explore and get over this pandemic. But I have got Miss Sheena Lance Nold, who's the National Onboarding Manager and the Master LifeTime Academy instructor. And then I also have Matt Schuster, who is the NASM Academy Business to Business Partnership Manager. And today we are going to talk about an offering that's out there to the world. It's not just people for Lifetime. It's anybody who wants to get into this profession and really go after it, not just take a test to become a trainer to have that credential and then not really know the information. So enough about me, enough about it, but I'd love to welcome you both to the show. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
Awesome.
Thanks,
well, really today we want to talk about, what is the Lifetime Academy? Because a lot of people think that it's only for people who belong to Lifetime, and it's not. So I'd love maybe Sheena for you to dive into that.
Yeah, absolutely. So Lifetime Academy is essentially a school, in effect, that offers continuing education courses for individuals really wanting to dive into the fitness industry and get some of that hands-on experience and practical application. And I know for me, when I first started as a personal trainer, Jason, you were my regional education specialist when I first started at Lifetime, 15 years ago. And so I had that knowledge with my certification, but I didn't necessarily understand how to practically apply what I had learned. So that's really what we focus on within Lifetime Academy, is the practical application and ensuring that students are ready to start their career as soon as they finish the program.
There's so much, it's a hands-on world. I know there's a virtual side of this that we'll get into, but if you don't know hands-on, it's going to be really hard to do virtual, and trying to get somebody through a screen to do it. So, but beyond that, that's, one of the beauties of what we've been able to do and what you've been able to expand and do with this is where you get the great content, and we'll get into what content is involved. Obviously, NASM's here, we're partnered with them. But there's the content of understanding how to design things, but then there's the application and the externship. So would you mind kind of going into who we've partnered with, and then how that partnership has evolved over the years and how we've incorporated both an online learning curriculum with the actual hands-on?
Yeah, absolutely. So, essentially, Lifetime Academy's mission is to deliver an innovative, science-based curriculum that emphasizes hands-on, real-life training in a premier fitness setting, being Lifetime primarily, and or with Lifetime resources that create certified professionals who realize immediate success in their career. And so really that last portion was what I was talking about, is really making sure that our students understand the ins and outs, the intricacies of what that means. So within Lifetime Academy, we have 3 core programs, and those 3 core programs are really focusing on helping people become certified personal trainers through the National Academy of Sports Medicine. And then we have our group fitness instructor certification through AFA and NASM. And then we also have the stages cycle certification that helps potential cycle instructors get certified in indoor cycles. So those are really the 3 primary. And then we do have some continuing education courses, a lot of partnerships existing with the National Academy of Sports Medicine, and future partnerships as well in continuing education courses.
Got it. And Matt, I'd love to ask, obviously you've been involved in this, how we've intertwined NASM within this, and there are other things that we go into from business building and stuff like that. We'll get into that later. But how have you seen this partnership help, both from, an NASM side, but more importantly, I always say, is the trainer that comes out with the credential. So many times I've done an interview and with a PT, and they have the credential, but then you look at the program design and they don't do anything with what they learned with regard to NASM. There's no EPT model. Right. There's none of that. So how have you, loved this relationship? And then more importantly, how have you guys seen, and Sheena, the quality of the trainer that comes out of it?
Yeah, good question, Jason. So yeah, obviously with the partnership that we have, Lifetime really is ahead of the curve in our opinion when it comes to the academy side of things, right? So as Sheena mentioned, the application side is really what the next evolution of Fit Pros is really kind of missing, right? We've all been in the industry for a while now, and we realize that, the piece of paper, if you will, people getting a certification has often opened the doors for trainers, right? We all know in order to get to that next level, we have to make sure that the application piece is really what these fit pros are owning and really taking in and running with it. So that's one of the things that I want to give kudos to the LifeTime team as they've continued to expand their instructor base. And they're really putting a great focus on the quality of trainer coming out, which is a huge kudos to Sheena and the team over there, and Sarah, and then obviously Jason. You've been with that team going back to when it first launched many moons ago. I'm sure you can attest that it's come a long way as well. And the big difference, and I think change really happened right at the beginning of COVID. I had a long call with Sarah Brenny over there, and being able to pivot and really open up the doors to a virtual experience, or at least a phased approach of experience, starting with online and going to that study focus, and then to application at the back half, or however that could blend in, has really helped to open that funnel a little bit more, hopefully feeding all the LifeTime fitnesses across the country.
Yep. And that brings up a whole nother point that I think we should spend some time on, is the quality. I mean, Sheena, you've got almost 16, 17 years in the industry. I know that your kettlebells and, all kinds of, background and then success in the environment. And I know some of the other instructors that we have, but would you mind spending some time on, if somebody's interested, what type of instructor, because they're like back and forth, oh, it's LifeTime, and, there could be their perceptions, but at the end of the day, some of the instructors that we have are as good as anybody in the industry. So would you mind spending some time on how you've selected those and, what they can expect from the live virtual expectation?
Yeah. So I think that's really one of the things that sets LifeTime Academy apart from a lot of other educational types of programs like this, is every single one of our instructors is in the field, in the industry, doing the thing. I have clients. I met with a client this morning. So our instructor team is individuals who are in the industry doing the thing every single day. We've got Zella Garcetta in PT, my counterpart with the personal training program, who trains clients. We've got Aaron Stoney in group fitness, who's a studio manager. We've got Emily Booth in cycle, who is an educator for stages. So really all of our instructors are actually some of the best in the industry in terms of educating, both within LifeTime Academy, but also within their respective platforms. So Zelig and I are in charge of onboarding every single new personal trainer that comes into LifeTime. So not only are we helping these students come in and understand the ins and outs of the industry, but we're also then onboarding new fitness professionals into LifeTime. So we really take a lot of that, understanding what that new personal trainer feels, that imposter syndrome that we tend to see a lot. And we help our students understand, okay, this is what you can expect when you are starting in the industry. This is what you can expect when you're onboarding. These are the things that you need to know. This is how you acquire clients. This is how you retain clients. So we really tie in a lot of those business practical concepts and apply that also to the curriculum. So talking about, how does the overhead squat help you acquire clients? How does consistent reassessment and that reassessment process help you retain clients? So we're connecting the content and the curriculum of the OPT model, which is amazing. And it's honestly what I started with when I was a trainer, which is why I'm such a huge fan of it, and why I believe so much in what we do within LifeTime Academy, is that partnership with the National Academy of Sports Medicine. And we really help marry the two, again, to create that immediate success, and helping people know what they need to know from a certification standpoint and passing their exam. And then more importantly, how do you actually apply this in real life to build a successful business?
Yep. And that's so big. And you threw some things in there, and for the audience that might not understand, I want to make sure that they do and have you go into it. But, you mentioned that they go through the academy, and then when they graduate, or prior to graduate, towards the end of the academy, I believe that there's an externship. So before we dive into what is the details of that. But then from there, that's when they start to get out and start applying for a job. And it could be with us, and hopefully it is with us, or it could be anywhere. But at the same time, that's when now you start to bring in what our onboarding process is of a new trainer, which I think I'd like to just kind of separate a little bit and just have you quickly go through that, because it's unlike what most companies offer, where it's, hey, great job, get out on the floor, now you got an employee number. So would you mind just, again, going through how those two things kind of intertwine?
Yeah, absolutely. So and what's funny is, like, again, because of our respective roles and how we operate within our spaces, it's kind of a 2-in-1, right? So we're teaching them the curriculum, and we're teaching them what they need to know to prepare for their exam, but that also ties into how do you connect the dots on this to actually create career success. And so within our program, which we are creating, we're working on creating a little bit more of like a virtual internship, and we're integrating this into our current cohort, where our LifeTime Academy students are actually also having the opportunity to engage with our LifeTime training new hires. So on Fridays, we invite our LifeTime Academy students to come into an office hour where our LifeTime training new hires are coming in and asking questions, right? And engaging with us, and they get to hear some of, that in the weeds of what it's like to be a new team member. And we talk about preparing for an interview process. So again, we're involved in the interview process at LifeTime, and we have one of the most extensive interview processes. So what we explain to our students is, if you can prepare for an interview at LifeTime, you can prepare for an interview anywhere. And these are really the steps to do that and come in polished and professional, and being able to actually articulate what you've learned throughout the program. And the biggest thing that employers are looking for right now is experience. And that's a lot of where fitness professionals get hung up, is they get this certification, they don't have experience, and employer is telling them, go get some experience.
Yep. Yep.
Within the program, they're getting that experience, so they can come in with a portfolio of clients, of practice clients that they've been working with, and showcase that skill and showcase that experience that they've been doing over the course of the 8-week program.
That's fantastic. And the other thing I want to dive into that you mentioned too is the application of, but not only the application of the content, but then how that relates into being able to actually build and get a client and retain a client. And you mentioned, using kind of the assessment process and things like that. And that's so important, because so many people, they don't do any of the assessments, or they do the assessments, but they don't know how to have the conversation to tie that into building the value that allows you, to get a client and hopefully then retain it. So, why don't we start diving into kind of the curriculum of, what they can expect? How long is it? What curriculum do they go to? Because I also know that we go into the training, but then we also have the corrective exercise, and we have some other kind of more specializations that we go into that they can get the hands on as well.
Yeah. So the curriculum for the certified personal trainer course, the premier personal training course, is 8 weeks. And throughout that curriculum, we really start with an overview of the OPT model. So we try to really help people understand, why are we diving into all of this, and where are we going at the end? And again, more importantly for me, is how does this practically apply to what you're going to do once this course is over? Mm-hmm. So throughout the entire curriculum, we start with overview of the OPT model. Then we go into an assessment, right? We tie the assessments into, when you're connecting with a prospective client or a new client, here's how this is going to look, and here's how this is going to feel. Then we go into breaking down the programming template, warm up. What does the warm up look like? Foam rolling, stretching, different types of stretching based on phase of training. We're looking at core balance, plyometric, SAQ when appropriate, and then breaking down resistance training. And we actually spend 2 full webinars on resistance training, because it's so important. So we're breaking down phases of training, when it's important, what are the benefits, and then how to actually explain programming to a prospective client. So helping them understand, when you're in a consultation, here's how you set up your assessment process. Here's how you explain the warm up and what you're about to do with them and why you're about to do it. Then here's how you transition into that workout portion of the session, which essentially is continuing on the assessments, right? So the way that Zelig and I explain it is, this is where we're doing the push-pull assessments, is really in that workout section. So we're building on the assessments that they're doing and helping them understand how to make all of that their consultation process. And then tying it into professional recommendations. And the hardest part for most personal trainers, right, is closing. How do I actually acquire a new client? Well, you explain to them the value of the OPT model and programming in a way that makes sense for their health and fitness goals. So we spend a ton of time in breakouts and allowing the students to actually practice these skills that are so critical for their success.
Well, and what's so important, and again, depending upon what you're listening to out there, your brain could be saying a million different things, but at the end of the day, so often trainers, well, why don't we try? And here's 3 sessions. And what Sheena just said there, and what I want to highlight, like in big lights, is that when you have a system that you're following, it's not about 3 sessions. You ain't going to get nothing. Give the 3 sessions away for free, and then, get them to come back in and say, hey, there's a stabilization phase, and there's a resistance strength phase, and then there's a endurance phase, or, whatever your format is. But at the end of the day, it's stabilization, strength, power, so that they know the expectation is, hey, I'm going to be with them for a bit to go through these things, to be able to do it the right way, not just, hey, let's try for 3 sessions. Let me beat the stuff out of you. And then we go from there.
Well, and I love that you said that, Jason, because I think the hardest part, and this is every single webinar that we do, we tell our students, do this in your programming. So do an overhead squat in the mirror, assess yourself, identify your overactive and underactive muscles, and then build your plan. Foam roll your overactive muscles, stretch your overactive muscles, do your core imbalance exercises based on what's going to strengthen some of those underactive muscles, and then come back in 4 weeks and tell me your testimonial, because that's going to be way more powerful than any client testimonial you could have, is when you can actually say, this is how this type of programming has really helped me. And honestly, that's where the learning happens too. That's when it really clicks for our students, is when they actually apply the OPT model to their own programs.
Yep, that's it. Got to own it. Well, I would love for you to go into, we've been doing this for a while now, and I know there's been a fantastic success rate, and, with us, and I know that there's been some, I'm still watching some people that when I was involved, that are doing great. They're not with us anymore, but at the end of the day, we want to elevate the industry, but elevate LifeTime as well with this. So would you mind talking just through some of the success stories that you've heard, that you've seen, from people, and what has happened in not only in length of time, but in not that much time in the success that they've had, getting into the industry?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll start with kind of LifeTime specific first, and then go a little bit more global. So in terms of LifeTime team members who are also LifeTime Academy graduates, LifeTime Academy graduates stay at LifeTime typically on average 1.5 years longer, and retention is so critical. It takes a lot of time and energy and cost to onboard a new team member. And so retention is critically important. And what we found is our LifeTime Academy students do stay team members longer than non-LifeTime Academy students. And they also promote at a quicker rate than non-LifeTime Academy grads. So on average, our assistant personal training managers, 21.5% or 21.5 months in tenure are LifeTime Academy graduates. And the tenure for non-LifeTime Academy graduates is 15.6 months. So again, several months longer in terms of someone who's graduated from LifeTime Academy versus someone who hasn't, in a leadership position. So these are people who are going through Academy, hired as a frontline team member, growing within LifeTime, and then being promoted within LifeTime. Beautiful. Are actually also staying in their roles longer. That's
great. And I know that they're somewhat all over the place. Would you mind diving into what, we don't have to go state by state, but for the most part, give us a geographical area of where all of the different academies are?
Oh man. So the blessing in disguise of COVID, prior to COVID, we were a little bit limited because we could only have Academy where we had a location set up. And so the beauty of COVID was it really opened up the doors for us in terms of where we could acquire students. In the past, historically, Colorado and Illinois have been great markets for us because we've had really, really strong instructors in those markets. Zelig, who I mentioned earlier, is in our Chicago market. So Chicago has a really high success rate with LifeTime Academy. With COVID, we saw that transition of now we have students all over the place where you don't even have to have a LifeTime nearby. And that was a barrier before. In the past, I've had students who drove from Charlotte, North Carolina to Atlanta, where I'm located, 4 hours for labs so that they could go through Academy. And so it was really cool to actually create this opportunity to open up the doors to so many individuals who maybe didn't have access to a training program like LifeTime Academy. And again, it created we had to pivot a lot. We had to transition a lot and kind of throw everything on its head in about 2 days. But we figured it out and we made it happen. And it's been really amazing to see that transition of accessibility with LifeTime Academy programs.
Got it. So in essence, they can get the online training anywhere, wherever they're at, they can get it when it comes to the externship. So can you explain in length of time? And then we'll get to, okay, what options are there, if any, if they're, a very, very long distance and there isn't, can they still get involved in how does that work?
Yeah. So the personal training program, like I said earlier, is 8 weeks long. And within that, we have kind of that transition period of career development and success. We're looking at other options and opportunities, again, because of the transition of this more virtual world. What other opportunities do we have out there? In terms of continuing education courses, we currently do have the corrective exercise specialist course that I lead that is actually starting this week. So that's very exciting for those professionals who are really wanting to level up their skills. For people who, it's so funny because, every single time we do a CPT course, we have students asking questions like, well, what if we see this? What if this happens? What if this happens? I'm like, yes. And you'll learn that in the corrective exercise specialist course, because this is, we want you to really learn the basics, but know that there's more, there's more learning, know that there's more that you can really dive into. So that's the corrective exercise specialist course. We're also working on some additional continuing education courses, really based on industry needs. I know right now, a lot of people are really looking at behavioral change specialist. With COVID, again, a lot of people really had to look at lifestyle habits and stages of change. And I know a lot of trainers are really trying to help their clients make those types of transitions. Like, I've got this client who's just really struggling, and how do I get them to that next step to be ready to make lifestyle change? So we want to look at layering that in. We want to look at layering in potentially the certified nutrition coach course. I know that's a huge need that we have right now. And that's actually my background. Is I have a degree in nutrition, and I have, the CNC through the National Academy of Sports Medicine. So huge fan of nutrition coaching certifications. And again, within LifeTime Academy, that's really what we look at is like, get the basics, right? So here's where you're starting, but this is the tipping point. And you need to be open to the fact that you need to learn more. And you need to be prepared that you're going to need to continue to level up your skills. So identify what that path is for you. I always recommend, and this is my personal preference, but I always recommend either corrective exercise specialist or nutrition coach / behavioral change specialist, because every single client you encounter is going to need those two areas. Every single client, without a doubt. And your client retention is going to go through the roof if you have all of those skills.
Yeah. And one thing I want to add in there too is, because the thought, and you'd mentioned, we've got to learn the fundamentals. And the whole course is how long right now? Just the premier is how long?
The premier course is 8 weeks.
It's 8 weeks. We're going through a text that's 500 pages, 400 pages with detailed information. which is again, I think why you said, hold off, let's learn this first. And there's a component of some corrective stuff in there, right? With overhead squat and different things. But let's not, because that's a problem that we have in the industry is people check the box, they got the cert, then they jump to the next thing. They don't really understand that. And then they keep jumping and then they don't actually apply the stuff that's in there. You know, I did the conversation or the episode with Mike Clark, and like, he's just rattling off, you know, the corrective exercise stuff. And it's just like, people don't know it that well, you know, and that's the way that you need to know it. And then some people on the other end of the spectrum are bashing things. And it's just like, come on, like this trainer knew nothing 8 weeks ago. Now we've got them fundamentally sound and now starting to look at function a little bit deeper. Don't say because you've been in the industry for 30 years that you can dispel your 30 years of experience and information into this person. So it's, you know, the haters out there are always going to be there, but you know, I love to address them a little bit too, because I was one of those. So
yeah, well, and I think something you said that's also so important that we talk about and we focus on, and I share my story. I share my story of starting and that imposter syndrome. And so I share with our students, like, if you feel confident in what you're learning right now, you're not diving deep enough. Like, if you feel 100% confident, then you really need to take a step deeper into the curriculum and into the content and into the practical application, into the skill development, into the application with your clients, because there is so much. I've taught this course for 3 years. I've had my CPT for 16 years. And every single time I go through it, I pull something else from it.
that's it.
So helping our students understand that there are different philosophies and there are different methodologies. And it doesn't necessarily mean that any are wrong, but this is our focus right now. You need to understand how this works. You need to understand this curriculum and this methodology and this philosophy. It's not the only one, but you do need to have a really deep understanding. And again, like I mentioned earlier, what I've done several different CPT certifications. And I'm not just saying this because Matt's on the phone. The NASM CPT is my favorite. It's why I teach it. I believe in it because it makes it so applicable for someone who's brand new to the industry. Take this information, and I literally tell my students when they graduate, they're like, well, you know, I have this client. What do I do? Appendix B. Go look at your book. Like, that's your resource, right? Like, your answer key is right there. Like, when you have a client, and that's what I did when I started, right? I looked at my book and I'm like, okay, does this fit for my client? Yep, it does. All right, then I'm going to stick to the basics and people way smarter than me and program based on people way smarter than me and not try to reinvent the wheel.
Yeah. You know, I think that's the key. I think, you know, those people that want to jump, let's go, hold on a second. Can you teach this for me? Teach this first. Teach this to a bunch of people and see where they go, with it. But,
and that's where the breakouts are really fun. So within our lectures and our labs, we do breakouts where the students practice. So we had a lab this Saturday, and it was so fun because, you know, Zelig and I will jump into different lab groups and we'll see kind of what people are doing and what they're saying and how they're explaining things. And so I jump in a group and they're like, this is a lot harder to explain than I thought. And I'm like, yeah, it is, isn't it? This is why we're having you do it, because it's easy to think you know it, but when you actually have to explain it to someone else, it's a little more challenging.
You know, that's the true test right there. Well, you know, there's a couple of areas I want to dive into. And, you know, one thing though, that you mentioned some of the perks, obviously, of if you come through, you'll get an interview and get to go through the interview process with LifeTime. But what other perks that, you know, that you can talk to people on why, you know, they should come, you know, go through the academy?
Me? No, I'm just teasing.
That's a good one. Yep.
But honestly, like, our instructors are incredibly passionate about what they do. I mean, my personal mission is to truly help other people recognize and achieve their highest potential. And that comes from my onboarding, right? So when I first started in the industry, I was so uncertain. I was so unsure. I distinctly remember my first day in the club and thinking, what the hell did I get myself into? And everything that went into that. And so I am devoting my entire life to helping as many people as possible not feel that way.
Yep.
So, you know, whether they're working for LifeTime, whether, and it's so fun. Like, I think the best part about people coming to LifeTime, I get emails all the time, like, hey, Sheena, I just signed up my first client. I'm so excited, whether they're with LifeTime or not. Whether if they're with LifeTime, I get more contact with them, right? Because I teach the new hires. But if they're not, there's nothing better than getting that message from a student and a graduate who says, I just signed my first client, or I just passed my exam. Those are my favorite. It's usually on Instagram. Like, I get Instagram messages like, just passed my CPT exam. There's nothing better than helping people elevate in areas, especially the people who never thought it was possible. The people who, you know, didn't graduate from high school, or the people who are completely changing career paths, which we saw a lot in COVID. We had a lot of people really reflecting and evaluating on, what am I going to do with my life now? And this has always been a passion for me. Can I really make it a career? And it's like, yes, you can. It's a lot of hard work. And I promise you, it's not going to be easy. I am promising you that. But I'm also going to promise you that it's totally going to be worth it. And we are going to be with you every step of the way.
Got it.
I do interview and resume assistance for our students. So towards the tail end of the course, we'll walk through and talk about interview skills. And like I mentioned earlier, what they need to do to prepare for interviews. We talk about what things should they highlight on their resume. We talk about putting together a presentation portfolio. So when you go in for your interview, showcase the work that you've done with your clients, showcase the fact that you've worked with a client over an 8-week period, you've done assessments, you've tracked progress and results, you can showcase programming that you've done for them. And so we really, again, we are diving into, what do you actually need to do to get your foot in the door? What do you need to do once your foot is in the door to acquire clients? And then what do you need to do to actually achieve the income that you want to make, to do what you love to do every single day? Because at the end of the day, that's what people are coming here for.
That's it. Yeah. And so there's, like you said, there's the, how do I build a resume? How do I have an interview? How do I get the interviews? There's the sales and business aspect that's added into it, on top of, you know, just learning, how do I actually design programs and actually work with people? That's great. Now, I know a big one that I want to spend some time on is how, you know, we've included diversity and inclusion into this. So would you dive going into, you know, what have you guys done, and how has that impacted the communities around us?
So I guess I'll start. So this is something that all of our instructors are personally committed to. So within LifeTime, we have a lot of education and content. We have monthly forums and where we can come in and have conversations. I'm personally doing a lot of my own education through external educators, reading a lot of books on anti-racism, but also everything else that goes into diversity and inclusion. So looking at, we had a student come through LifeTime Academy who was blind. And so really adapting, okay, we've never done that before, but how do we make it work? How do we figure this out and make sure that it's accessible to this student? We've had students come in who were deaf. How do we figure it out? How do we make this work? And how do we really make sure that we are creating an experience that they don't get a different experience regardless of anything? We saw that a lot with last year, right? Like, last year was an incredibly challenging year for so many reasons, but navigating through supporting individuals in one of the hardest times in our country in terms of racial injustice. And so really putting that humanity in the learning experience and making sure that first and foremost, we're asking, how are you? How are you? I don't care about the assignments. I don't care about, anything else. How are you doing? How can I support you as a human being? And then how can we make sure that we can help you across the finish line? Because we did have a lot of people negatively impacted by the riots in Minnesota. We had a lot of people negatively impacted by COVID. We had students who were sick for 2 or 3 weeks. We had students who were caregivers to family and friends. So we really had to, and again, I think that's the beauty of a program like LifeTime Academy, when you have passionate people behind the program that are really committed to the humans, it really makes it not just a great experience, but it makes it an experience that these students are never going to forget.
Okay. And, Matt, I know NASM's and parent company of NASM is starting to dive into this as well. And how is NASM adjusted?
Yeah, great question, Jason. Yeah, I think Sheena nailed it as well too. One of the things we spend a lot of time, a lot of focus on, and reminding our teammates here, it's all people to people, right? Business is people to people, right? And one of the awesome things that our umbrella company, Ascend Learning, has done recently is creating an inclusion team. So we actually have a whole inclusion team that is taking a holistic look at the whole business unit and what we're doing as an organization moving forward. There's also been countless numbers of different organizations that we've done a ton of donating to as well, in support of all of our employees based on everyone's beliefs and everything as well. So there's going to be a lot more, I think, that's happening internally in the future here. But one of the things, as a program design, going back to OPT model, right? I think one of the cool things about the whole OPT model that Dr. Clark created, right, is it's about everyone, right? It really is. It's about the individual client when it comes down to it. It's not a cookie cutter program, right?
It's not what I do. Like, meaning, I don't mean that like I don't do it. Like, I mean it in so many trainers go get whatever certification, and then they're like, okay, this is what I do, and this is what you're going to do.
Yeah, and that's the truth. I mean, I've spoken to countless number of students. Obviously, I've been with the company now for 13 years, so my roles have changed drastically across the years, but the conversation hasn't changed. We're all passionate about what we're doing, right? And the fact of the matter is, it's not cookie cutter. It's all about that people to people. So at the end of the day, the assessment you do on one client isn't going to be the same you're going to do on another. So taking a focus and really slowing down to speed up. My team will probably laugh at me because I'm saying that here, but I always tell them that slow down to speed up, enjoy, be in the moment, and be authentic. Because when you're speaking with your clients, customers, colleagues, that's what matters. That's where that human connection comes in. And that's what I think it's awesome that we're doing a podcast today, because we've all been thrown into this new world, and now we can see faces, right? And we're now connecting in a different way.
It is fun. Another thing, anything that you can add, from the NASM front of things that are coming, into the future down the pipeline.
Yeah, great question. So as Sheena already mentioned, we'd like to do a lot more. I think we all realize on this call, and we all support it, that the CPT and or the group X, which we didn't spend much time on today, and that's okay, but those are the foundations, right? So ultimately, going back to OPT, right, like you mentioned, Jason, the stabilization, strength, power, or staircase, which people can picture very easily, right? If you get your foundation right and then you progress, the good thing is we have a suite of products, right? Injury prevention, in my opinion, is definitely up there. It's probably number 2 or 3, right? Along with nutrition, which Sheena mentioned, which was amazing that our team really went back to the basics with the creation of the certified nutrition coach. And instead of having 1 or 2 subject matter experts create that course, we actually pulled 23 subject matter experts. It's actually changed the game and how we're creating products today, because now we're pulling from all different amazing people, right? None of us are as smart as all of us, right? So the cool thing is, you get more people. We learned a lot of things, right? We're learning from more brilliant minds, right? And we're also able to put out more products faster, which is awesome. So the good news is the product roadmap is pretty robust. As Sheena mentioned too, behavior change is a big one.
Yep.
So just to talk about the nutrition really quickly. So what we did is we moved on from our fitness nutrition specialty, which was mainly basic and applied sciences. Our certified nutrition course is really broken into three strong modules: basic and applied sciences, and then behavior change, and then application, right? Because we all know that a lot of trainers, the piece they're missing is that application piece. And that's what the LifeTime team is doing really well at the Academy, is focusing on the application, right? Yep. So that these folks know what they're doing at the end of the day. So we also have right now in the works, we have our new performance enhancement specialization being worked on. So the updates to the PES, and then we're working on some other products. So virtual training coach was, we went through fundamentals, which was a smaller CEU course, and then we accelerated that to a virtual coaching specialization. But we're now also noticing that there's some additional stuff that can be put out there, like home design and how to go about really training from a virtual standpoint. So that product will be getting some new life here soon, as well as a wellness coach is big on the docket this year. And
Beautiful.
Performance enhancement.
It covers it all. Well, to kind of just round this thing out, Sheena, I know you said there's a class starting now, but I would love for those that are further interested, and we can put the links in, and we'll put all the links in the show notes, but how does somebody get involved? What can they expect, and, cost, all that kind of stuff, if you want to go into that.
Yeah, absolutely. So follow us on Instagram, LifeTime Academy, and then on lifetimeacademy.edu, we have all of our program information on there. There's also kind of an interest sheet that you can fill out. When you fill that out, our student services team reaches out to you and, ask questions. And really, that team is so great about identifying if this program is right for you. So I think that's something that they really try to focus on, is ensuring that the students are coming in, what we're providing is actually the right fit for them, which again is really unique, I think, versus just signing people up. We want to make sure that our students are going to be successful and that we're setting them up for success. So it is more built for that self-starter, someone who does have a level of self-accountability to log into the webinars. We have webinars on Tuesday nights at 8 p.m. Central Time for those 8 weeks. And then we have labs every other Saturday. All are virtual on Zoom. So again, it's really nice because you can attend from the comfort of your own home. And then we have a lot of outside activities and practical application and studying. We give them resources and really break down the curriculum in terms of what they should be focusing on when. But best resource would be the Lifetime Academy website, lifetimeacademy.edu, that has all of our certification options as well as start dates on there.
Great. And one thing that, I'm sorry, we forgot is this it's a licensed school. So this isn't just a lifetime thing that, we said, hey, it's a good idea, let's do it. But we went through a lot of process. And I think we would be remiss if we didn't spend a little time of you just explaining that a little bit more.
Yeah. So, essentially Lifetime Academy is just like any vocational school that you would go to. So we are a licensed school within all of these different resources. Again, I think the difference is most schools like Lifetime Academy aren't necessarily directly connected with a facility that, number one, is also hiring the professionals that they're certifying. And number two, focuses a lot on that practical application for placement. So a lot of these programs focus on placement, but they don't necessarily focus on what are the considerations for placement and ensuring that you're prepared should that opportunity arise.
And that's a big difference between there's a lot of people I'm seeing out there mentoring, right? So they're mentoring people to get through NASM stuff, but that's a person and they're charging you dollars and that's all that they're going to do. Maybe they'll grab you, maybe they won't. Where part of being a vocational school is placement. And if we don't place enough people into jobs, then we could lose our license. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's another huge, I think, huge perk of being able to help place people into a job and making sure that they get them as well, versus a mentor who's just going to take you through the information. So, well, I can't thank you guys enough. Anything else either of you have, to close it out, or anything we didn't discuss that you want to add in?
I'll add in here. One of the things that I'll say is I can't speak higher about the team over at Lifetime Academy. And obviously the other piece here, I know, Sheena, you mentioned career changers, right? We've got two different types of students. We've got new career, we've got career changers. Really, that's what it boils down to, right? So it's shouldn't be intimidating to anybody, right? To come work with this team like yourself, Sheena, and be able to actually learn from some of the best. The other piece is that we're talking affordable education, people, as well. It's really affordable to get directly into an industry and make an immediate impact. So I can't thank you both enough for allowing us to be on today. Thank you, Jason. Thank you, Sheena. Thank you for all the support. I'm actually excited about the future together. I know we've got a lot of things on the horizon together as well. So thank you both.
No problem. Thank you as well. Sheena, anything?
Yeah. So highlighting on what Matt said just about the career changer piece, we have had a few students who come in really for their own personal knowledge. They want to learn how to program for themselves. what I tell all of our students when we do orientation as a faculty. All of us come together, which is a pretty crazy time, but it's a lot of fun. And what I say almost every single orientation is, this is the best possible investment you could ever make, because even if at some point in the future you decide that you no longer want to have a career, which very rarely do people do that. They might step away for a bit, or they might go part-time, or whatever the case is. But it's investing in your own health and wellness. It's investing in your knowledge of your body. It's investing in your ability to really physically perform at your best, whatever that means for you. And so it really is one of the best investments that you can make, to learn how to take care of your body and exercise in a way that creates longevity for yourself. I think there's no better investment that you can make.
That's it. And always, when you tell somebody at your first holiday dinner that you're going through it, wait for the questions to just start barraging. It always happens. And now you got good quality information, not just, Instagram stuff that you hope is good. Well, thanks again, both of you, for your time. This has been great. And again, anyone out there looking to change their career or looking to advance their knowledge, and maybe even you went through the cert and you're just not there. You're not where you want to be. This is the place that you want to go, and you will get that information. I always say that you'll make your money back in a couple of months if you do the right thing, if not more, or if not sooner. So thank you again so much, and best of luck to both of you guys, and look forward to seeing your faces in person someday soon here.